All right. Just right on the dot at 3 o'clock. So we will go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us to learn more about automating your communications using templates and triggers. I'm Kana, and I'm being joined by my teammates, Sarah and Rihanna. And we're all on the onboarding team, and we're super excited to take you into a deeper dive into templates and triggers today. So whether you're brand new to templates and triggers or you have been using them for a while, hopefully you'll learn something new. For all of the registrants, we cannot see or hear you, but if you look in the bottom right corner of this screen, you'll see a questions tab. You can use that to ask any questions or put your comments in there. And Sarah and Rihanna are going to help monitor that and try to help answer questions as we go along. And hopefully we'll have some Q&A time at the end also to go through any questions that we can answer for you today in the presentation. Following today's presentation, you'll receive an email with a link to today's video recording. And I also wanted to do a little plug-in about an exciting week we have coming up called Integrations Palooza, where we will be hosting a series of events with a bunch of our integration partners. So if you see in the bottom right corner of the screen over to the left of the questions, there's a links tab there. If you click on that links tab, you'll see a button to our Integration Palooza where you can register for presentations during the week of March 4th through 8th. So if you cannot attend, but you do register after those sessions have ended, you'll receive an email with the recording links to that so you can watch it when you're able to. You'll also see another link in there with some additional resources related to templates and triggers. So please feel free to click on both of those links so you can have them to review later. And we're also going to have a little poll question here. So I'm going to pop out a poll question. If you can go ahead and answer that question for us. Are you currently a Hostfully customer? So we can enter yes, no, or no, but interested. Thank you for participating in that. And so today on Templates and Triggers, we're going to talk about system templates, custom data, triggers, the pre-arrival form, scheduled messages, the message log, and automating your Airbnb 5-star reviews. Let me go ahead and get started here. Hopefully, let's see. Can everybody see my screen? Is that going? Oh.
Looks good.
Thank you. Okay, so if you want to follow along with me and you're logged into your Hostfully account, you can navigate to your drop-down menu and go down to Templates and Triggers here. When we first go here, we're going to land on the system templates. The system templates are automated messages sent by the system. Custom templates is where you can build out your own messaging to go to guests or owners or team members. Triggers are what tells the system when, to whom, and how to send your messages. Custom data, this is where you can create your own custom data property setting fields. So this can go onto the property settings and you can enter specific data for each property to pull into your messages. And we'll come back to that. Reviews, this is where you can set up automated 5-star reviews to go out to your Airbnb guests, saving you a lot of time there. And then the pre-arrival form is a customizable form that we will send out to our guests after they have booked. And then the scheduled messages is where we can see the messages that are scheduled to go out to our guests. And then the message log is where we will come to make sure our messages are successfully going to our guests. All right, I'm going to start off with system templates. Now, if you're currently in onboarding or you're about to start onboarding, you'll see you have the option here to turn these messages off. those are going to apply to the system templates that have an orange cogwheel. These events or these messages are going to go out to our guests if and when the event happens. So again, if you're in onboarding, you might want to go ahead and turn them off for now. That way, if you do have any existing reservations that you need to enter into the system, we can not worry about any system messages triggering to them before we're ready for them. So right before we go live, we'll go ahead and turn those back on. Now, these system templates are grouped by the recipient. So we have at the top messages sent to our guests, and then we have messages sent to booking agents, messages that will go out to our property owners, and then finally messages to our service providers, usually cleaners, maybe greeters or maintenance people. There's not a whole lot to do on this page, but like many pages in Hostfully, where there's usually a document that will provide more information here. This document will go into more detail about what these messages are and when they're going to be sent, or where you can send them from. And we're going to click under Action. We'll click on English in order to preview and edit the messages. So most of these system templates are really quite short and direct. So you might not find that there's a lot that you need to edit in these messages, but I like to point a few things out. First of all, a lot of times when you upload your logo onto the agency settings, it might appear kind of stretched out in the system templates. That's because of this right here. So in this box is like a little broken link. So from here, we just want to click on that box and hit 50%. And so if you do have one of those stretched out logos, hitting that 50% should take care of it. We do have another option here is where we can just remove that logo and we can use a variable. So the variables here are going to be pulling the data from different points in our system. It could be on the agency or property level, or it could be coming from the reservation details. So here, instead of using that logo link that was already there, I'm just going to add my own logo there, and I can move it anywhere on the screen or in the message that I want to. The next thing that a lot of people like to edit is the closing salutation. This one here, this agent signature, this is actually coming from your profile information. So if you haven't set that up yet, you'll want to set it up. But that agent signature is going to pull in your first and last name, your email, and your phone number. Some people don't like that. So we have another option. Instead of agent signature, we can instead use agency signature. That's coming from your agency main settings, and that's going to be your company or agency name, your direct booking site URL, and your phone number or the agency phone number on that page. Again, some people, if you don't like either of those options, you can just put your own personalized or custom closing salutation in here, and then you can just copy and paste that into all your templates. You'll also notice on a lot of the templates that there's this box where you can send a copy of the message to the agency. So anytime the message goes out, it's going to copy to your agency inbox. If you don't want to get all of those messages in your emails, you can just uncheck that box. And then if you do make any changes in these system templates and you later decide you want it to go back to the original version, you can just click on that reset template and it will go back to the original message that was there. Really the only other action to do on this page is if you wanted to add a language. So I like to do this, I like to just copy that message, click on add a language. From this drop down here, you can see the languages that we have set up in Hostfully. If you need a language that's not listed here, please reach out to our support team or contact your onboarding rep and we can make that request for you and just tell us what languages you need. And it usually takes a few weeks to get that added in here. So again, Hostfully is not translating these messages for you. So I like to just copy and paste the original English version, and then you can come in here and you can do your own translation. Or if you have some nifty AI software, you can try that as well. But the beauty of being able to just copy and paste it is that all of those variables will automatically come over and pull that in for us. All right. Custom templates. This is where you're going to spend the majority of your time when it comes to templates and triggers. Here, when you first get your Hostfully account, you probably have about 6 custom templates that are already there for you. It's really kind of a starting point for you to work from in terms of your messages. So we can go ahead and click on the booking confirmation. I've changed the name to this. This name is internal. The subject is what the guests are going to see in their subject line. So you can name this whatever you want, just as long as it makes sense. Some people also like to put a number here so they can kind of feel the flow of when the messages are going to go out. So they know this is the first message, the second message. So some little things like that you can do with those. One thing I like to do is change some of these variables. So first of all, the guest name here, this is going to be the guest full name. I like to be a little bit more casual and go with the guest first name. So by clicking on that variable box, I can select the guest first name instead. One thing I like to point out here too is this property name variable. This is actually coming from your property settings on the description tab. It's going to be coming from your public name. If you're like me, your public name is somewhat more of a description. And it's great, I think, using descriptions here because this can really catch, prospects' eyes in here, but it can sound kind of awkward in using that in your templates. So another option that we have instead of using that property name is to come into the main settings and use the internal property name instead. Now, if you're a property manager for other owners, some people like to list these out, like put the property name starting with the owner's last name. So in certain areas of Hostfully, you can see the properties grouped together by the owner's name. That might make it really convenient for you. Other people like to use this field as an address instead, that's an easy way for them to manage it. So in that case, in either one of those cases, you probably won't want to use that internal name, or if you have some kind of coding where it sounds like some code instead of a name, that might not work for you either. So there's another way that we can put a separate name onto the property settings using custom data, and we'll come back to that in a moment. But for me, I like to use the property internal name. That works out well for my setup here. So I'm going to choose this property internal name. So wherever I have that property name, I'm just going to change it to property internal name. Wherever I have guest name, I'm going to change it to guest first name. This booking confirmation message is going to go out to your guests right after a guest books. So in this message, I'm telling them, like, you'll get your check-in information. Maybe I need to edit this. Like, maybe I want to send it 4 days before their reservation starts. And I just might want to highlight that too, just to try to avoid people asking me a million times, when am I going to get my check-in instructions? And then I like to send them a link to my Hostfully guidebook here. I'm going to ask them to complete the pre-arrival form and acknowledge and review my rental conditions. So that's usually the main things. If you are using one of our guest insurance or guest screening partners, you might have some extra verbiage in there to include about one of those options. Your stay is approaching. This is a message I like to send out about 14 days before the guest stay starts. It's just for people who booked a long time ago, letting them know, hey, we know that you're coming soon. And we can also use this opportunity to upsell any goods or services. Like, would you like an early check-in for an additional $25 per hour, something like that. Now, check-in instructions, when it comes to this, I have a lot of people that feel like they need to have a separate check-in instruction email for every property because every property has slightly different instructions. I like to, on the other hand, minimize the number of custom templates I have just to make things a little bit easier down the road. So that we can use some custom data fields where we're putting that property specific information on the property settings so that we can really reduce the number of templates we need. In my case, I have properties with smart locks and I have some properties without smart locks. This is a functionality difference in those messages. So I do need 2 separate check-in email messages for these 2 types of properties. I have my smart locks connected to one of our smart lock integration partners. So whenever I get a reservation in Hostfully, it's going to generate the code and put it into the smart lock. And then it's also going to put that code onto the guest reservation details, which will pull into this field right here. And then I'm going to have property specific access instructions like how to unlock the door. So I might have different locks at each property. One has a Schlage, one has a quick set. The code will come in regardless, but my instructions are going to be slightly different by property. So I'm going to include that on my property settings using that link there. Then we can see for my properties without smart locks, I don't have that lock code here. Because instead, in my access instructions, that's where I'm going to tell them what the code is and how to unlock the door using that instead. If you have a pro account or higher, if you click on create a template here, you can see the different template types that you have. So pro account or higher, you also have the option of creating an SMS or WhatsApp template. So I like to have a check-in instructions SMS message. Because the SMS and WhatsApp messages do not have any rich text formatting, I try to keep these messages really short and just let them know, in this case, go check your email or app inbox for detailed check-in instructions. Because if you try to put a lot of information in here, it's just going to be like reading a really long block of text, which can get a little challenging to read. So I like to have this be a short and simple little message. You can do the same thing for WhatsApp there. Checking in on your stay, just a short little message asking your guests, if how things are going, if they have any questions, to reach out to you. Checkout instructions, kind of like check-in instructions. Sometimes people feel like, well, I have different checkout instructions by property. If that's the case, you don't have to create a separate checkout instruction for each property. You can just remove this and use a custom data field or a variable like one of these and put that information on each property settings to pull in here instead of having a separate checkout instruction for each property. And then finally, we have a post-stay message. So this message says, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you for taking good care of my home. Next time you're in the area, come to my direct booking site. So this message goes out after their stay ends. And about a month ago, Airbnb sent out a blast reminding people not to put their direct booking site URL into inbox messages for Airbnb guests. So I just duplicate that message. I make it just for Airbnb guests. And I just remove that direct booking site URL because there's other places we're going to share that URL, like in the property. You might have some documents. Of course, if you're using the Hostfully guidebook, we have that book again category to have them come back and book through your guidebook. So we're not really missing out by not including that URL here because we can share it in other places. So those are the basic templates that you have when you first create when you first get your Hostfully account. And I'm going to come back and look at some more different ideas, other ways that you can use templates and triggers to send to owners or other teammates or team members or your service providers. But I'm going to jump into talking about triggers a little bit. Now, for each email template that you create, we're going to want to create, usually we're going to create 2 triggers. So one, I'm going to create this booking confirmation. I usually like to have my trigger name match my template name just to make it a little bit easier and cleaner. But this event is going to be when a booking is confirmed, and I'm going to select the channel. So here I'm going to select Airbnb, Booking.com, and Vrbo. Because we are fully integrated with these 3 inboxes, we can send messages directly to the inbox for each of those channels. So in that case, I'm going to choose send a channel message, which is why I put the word channels in my trigger name. That's just my naming convention. If you want to put Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, whichever ones you send it to, you can do that as well. So in this case, I'm going to select my template is going to be booking confirmation. And then we're going to send that to the channels there. And then you'll notice here, I have this option to automatically select the template version based on the recipient's language. So if I have different language templates set up, I can check this box, and depending on what language your guest has on the device that they're using to open your messages, then they will be able to see that message of their language if you have that language selected. Otherwise, I believe they will see it in English. So I want them to be able to see it in the language that's going to make sense for them. So I'm going to go ahead and save that there. And then I have this one already created, this booking confirmation. This is going to, again, when the event is booking confirmed, the channel is. Now, I can send an email, because the action will be email here. I can send an email to everybody except Airbnb, because Airbnb is the only one that does not share email addresses for us. You can deselect Booking.com and Vrbo as well if you're sending them inbox messages to their apps. Some people like to include both, just in case some Vrbo or Booking.com users don't check their app inbox and they just go to email. So you have the option there to send it to them both ways. So we're going to send an email to the guest, and that template's going to be that booking confirmation. And again, I want it to select the language. Just real quickly, your stay is approaching. Basically, most of your other guest templates are typically going to be time-based, which means it's going to be a complex condition. So again, I start out with the channel, and then this one, your stay is approaching. I like to set this one before stay starts, about 14 days before. Some people like to send it like 7 days or 20 days, whatever you like there. Excuse me. And then the next one is my check-in instructions. This one's a little more complex, or can be. So again, this I have separate templates by property because I have some properties with smart locks. So here it's going to be a complex condition because it is time-based. I'm going to select the channel. I find that the check-in instructions to be one of the most important ones. So I'm going to send it to everybody every way I can. So I'm just going to deselect Airbnb because I cannot send emails to Airbnb. Then I'm going to add the property condition, and I'm going to choose my properties that have the smart locks. And then I'm going to say before stay starts, less than or equal to, and I'll send it out 4 days before, but I'm going to choose less than or equal to, because if someone books 2 days before, I still want them to get this message. If I say equal to, if they book less than 4 days before, they won't get it. So I want to make sure that's less than or equal to. And then I just set 12 hours past check-in for any last minute reservations. And then I like to add some extra conditions here. One is that the agreement, or rather the rental condition, is signed, the booking is paid in full, and the pre-arrival form is submitted. I don't want anyone coming to my property that has not done these things. So I like to add these conditions. And I just like to know, a lot of people will say, they'll add these and then they'll be like, oh, Kana, my guest didn't get their check-in instructions. Typically, 99.5% of the time, it's because they haven't completed all of the conditions. There's a note on this, though, that if you have pre-existing guests, I call them pre-Hostfully guests, that have already booked with you on different channels, they haven't been part of this process. So what some people will do is just not include these until after all of your current or your existing future guests have come and gone, or have at least gotten their check-in instructions, and then come in here and add these conditions. Or they might add it for the guests who are receiving emails, maybe just not for Airbnb or something like that. Another option you have is to send, right after you go live, is to send a blast email to all your existing future guests and say, hey, we're implementing a new management system, and we're now requiring that you sign our rental conditions and complete our pre-arrival form, and send them the links to do that, so that they can, and let them know that they have to do these things before they receive their check-in instructions. The third option is, if you don't have a lot of existing future guests, is to maybe put in your personal calendar or a work calendar, maybe note that when those guests are supposed to get those check-in instructions, that you're going to manually go into Hostfully's inbox and send the check-in instructions to those guests, because they haven't been part of this process yet. So just some options there that I like to point out. So just to make sure, if you do have to use different templates for check-in instructions, that you're choosing that right template that matches with your trigger name there. So likewise with my properties check-in instructions without smart locks, I'm going to choose all the properties that don't have smart locks and make sure I've deselected my smart lock properties, so they're not getting those messages all confused between each other. I also like to point out my check-in instructions SMS message. This one, I don't add all those extra conditions. I do this intentionally so that the guest will get this message. I don't have any secure information in that message. It just says, go check your email or app inbox for check-in instructions. If they haven't completed all those items, they're not going to get that message in their app inbox or email. So it might trigger them to send you a message and say, hey, I got this text message that told me my check-in instructions are in my email, but they're not there. So you can go to the pipeline and determine, what have you not done? This great guest right here, this is like an ideal guest for us. One, the circle is green, which means that they have paid in full. That's always a great thing. This green check mark here indicates that the pre-arrival form is completed. And the scale icon here indicates that the rental agreement is signed. This guest is definitely going to get the check-in instructions. My guest Tyler here, he has paid in full, which is great, but he has not completed the pre-arrival form and he has not done the rental agreement either. So what I can do is hover over that and send a pre-arrival form reminder and say, hey, Tyler, your check-in is coming up soon, but if you don't do these forms, you're not getting your check-in instructions. And I have those links there so that he can go ahead and click on it and get those done. Wendy hasn't paid. And she hasn't done the pre-arrival form, but she has sent the rental agreement. So likewise with Wendy, I can hover over a couple things. One is I want her to finish paying before she comes. So I can send that balance payment request to her, and I can send that pre-arrival form reminder to her as well, because she's supposed to be coming in 4 hours. That means she should have gotten the check-in instructions already, but she hasn't because she hasn't paid under the pre-arrival form. All right. Then we have a message checking in on your stay. I like to send this one out about 18 hours after the stay starts, so they get it like mid-morning the next day. One thing with this is if they're only staying one night, they might get this message after they've already checked out in the morning. So a lot of people like to add this stay is longer than 1 day. So if you do allow one-nighters. Some people also like to send that message out instead of 18 hours after. They like to send it out like a few hours after their stay starts. So likewise with the checkout instructions, I like sending this out 18 hours before the stay ends so that they get it like late afternoon, the day before they check out. Because if they're anything like me, I want that whole list. Last time I stayed in an Airbnb, I was like messaging the property manager, like, is there anything you want me to do? Because like there was no house manual, there's no guidebook, there's no instructions or reminder of what to do when I check out. So I want to get this done in the evening before I go to bed because I want to have very few things to do in the next morning. So I want to send that out the evening before. And again, if the guest is only staying one night, then they might get this message. If you schedule it to go out like 4 hours after their stay starts, they might get it at midnight and they might get this message before they even arrive. So we might want to set it to guests who maybe they're staying longer than 1 day. And we should have those check in and check out, all those instructions, your house rules, all of that should also be in your guidebook. And then we have the post-stay message. With this one, I like to send this one out about 2 days after the stay ends because every channel is going to send your guest a message asking them to leave a review within 24 hours after checkout. Some people are kind of busy on checkout day, traveling back to where they came from or their next destination. So I like to set this to 2 days because it's like another little nudge, like, hey, if you haven't left a review yet, please do so. And I also want to give myself time to hear back from my cleaners to see if that guest was a good guest or a really not good guest. That gives me time to go and delete that message before it goes out to the guest saying, thanks for being an amazing guest. Okay, so we'll come back to a little bit more on custom templates and triggers here in a few minutes, but just want to run through some of these other items here. So custom data, again, this is where you can create your own custom data fields that go onto the property settings. This way you can help reduce the number of templates that you need. You won't have to necessarily have a separate template for each property. And once you create your custom data fields, as you've seen like in our messages, we can pull that data field in from their variable list. So we'll see this one is one that I custom created, so that I can pull in right there. Once you have custom data fields on your property main settings, you'll then have this field here called Manage Custom Data, because of course now we need a place to manage that data. So in this section here, I like to put in my specific lock instructions just to make it really dummy proof, because nothing is like scarier for a guest than getting to the property and not understanding how to unlock the door. Even though it might seem really basic, just if whatever we can do to dummy proof this and reduce guest communication with you, especially right at the time that they get there. It might be late, it might be raining, it might be hot, they might be tired. So let's go ahead and put your instructions in there. I like, to put the to unlock the door. If I'm using for my smart lock properties, I'll say enter the 4 digits above and press the key, whatever those instructions are. These custom data fields do not have any rich text formatting. So one thing I like to do is add this HTML code for line break. So if you put that after each sentence where you want the next line to be a new line, you'll put that line break there. And if you want a double space, we'll just put 2 line break codes right there. So here for my access instructions, I might have some specific parking information. Maybe I have a gated community that they need to know about. So I can put that information here in my access instructions as a custom data field. I can also, instead of using that, I can use this check-in instructions tab on the property settings and put that property specific information in here as well and pull that in to my custom template. There's already a variable for that in here, and that's called check-in instructions. So whichever way you want to do that, just some ideas there for you. Let's see, reviews. Airbnb does not like it when you send the same 5-star review over and over and over again in a row to your guests. So Hostfully provides the opportunity for you to create up to 5-star reviews. And then the system will rotate through those reviews going out to your guests, making Airbnb a happy partner for you. So all you would do is click on create new here, and then enter a title like outstanding guest, give it all 5s. And then the only variable here is guest name. So we can say guest was an outstanding guest. And maybe kept the house tidy and clean and all that kind of good stuff. So whatever you want to put in there for your verbiage. So now I have 5-star reviews. And then this document right here explains, all that whole setup, but it's pretty much as simple as that. And then going into the triggers. And then we're going to build a trigger. I've already built one here. So I like to just, this is the name I give it, my Airbnb 5-star guest review. This is going to be a complex condition because it's time-based. So the channel is going to be Airbnb. This functionality is only with Airbnb. And it's going to go after stay ends. Again, like my post-stay message, I also like to send this out 2 days after, just to give myself time to hear back from the cleaners, to see if there's, if they were, maybe a bad actor and I don't want to send them a 5-star review. Then the action here will be to post a review. All right. And next we have the pre-arrival form. So this is almost completely customizable. You can come in here and turn on any fields that you want to turn on, and then click on optional to make it required. This government ID field is going to require your guest to upload a photo of their government ID. So any of these fields that you want to show, you can click on that. If you want to hide it, you can hide it. Or if you want to make it required, click on it to make it required. And then at the bottom here, you can add your own custom questions. One that I always like to enter is to please enter the primary contact email address, because Airbnb doesn't share those email addresses. It's another way of just getting some more email addresses for your future email marketing campaigns. And then there might be some other questions that you want to ask. One limitation to this currently is that this is not customizable per property, nor is it customizable by the channel. I have had some people not send this to Airbnb guests, but maybe they'll send it to everyone else. In that case, we just need a separate booking confirmation message, one that includes the pre-arrival form requirement and one that doesn't. But this is a really great opportunity to get some additional information. And if you're not using a guest screening or verification service, that to collect some government ID, so you have that for your records. If you click on preview form down here, this is going to just show you what it will look like to your guests. If your guest phone number is already in the reservation, it will automatically populate there. They'll click on this button to upload their government ID. They can tell you how many people are coming with them and provide you that information for each guest. And then if your guest clicks on send information to all guests listed in the form, it's only going to send to the people that have email addresses in here. And it's going to send this message called planned trip. So this is the message that's going to go to all the people that your guest has added to that list. Go back to the pre-arrival form here. Any of that extra information that you want to get information on, and then agree with the house rules. They're just checking a box here for that. And then all the custom questions you have, anything that's required has that little star in it. And I'll tell you, there's a really cool function that the pre-arrival form has. And that is any of these custom questions that you're asking, these become variables that you can pull into your custom templates. I've seen this used a couple ways. One is to send the agency information. Like maybe somebody in the office needs to know if the guest is celebrating an event and what it is, because you might do a little extra added touch and leave a nice note or something for your guests when they arrive, like happy birthday or happy anniversary, that kind of thing. Another thing is to send the cleaners information about what to set up for the next guest who's coming. So once a guest answers the pre-arrival form and a certain number of days before their stay starts, we can just put in, well, we probably want to put in some more like the property information, property name in there. But we can say, does the guest need a pack and play? The answer from the pre-arrival form will populate right here. Will the guest be bringing a dog? So the cleaner will know to leave a dog dish out. Or do you need a crib? So the cleaner will know to set up a crib. So that's a really cool functionality of the custom questions from the pre-arrival form. And I do have a document in that links button again, the templates and triggers resources. There's a document that explains how to use these pre-arrival form custom questions as variables in your messages to whoever you want to send it to, basically. Next, we have scheduled messages. So the scheduled messages, all it's telling us is the name of the message, who is going to receive it, when, and you can come in here and delete that message before it goes out. So the most common message that is deleted is the post-stay message. When it is a bad guest, I can just hit delete because they were bad. I don't want them coming back. I don't want to tell them thank you, nothing. So I can just delete that message. The next thing is the most common one that people might delay is this one called checking in on your stay. Let's say Wendy called me at 6 a.m. because a pipe burst. It would be a little bit awkward for her to then get this message a few hours later saying, hey, how's your stay going? So some people like to come in here and delete that message if they've already had contact with the guest before that message goes out to them. One of the most important parts of templates and triggers to me, besides obviously your messages, but is making sure your messages do go out. So I recommend that you check this page daily. If you have a lot of properties, maybe several times a day. But because regardless if you have one property or 50 properties, your messages are going to be going out at different times and different days. So it's a good idea to come in here and check to see if your message successfully went out, indicated by a green check. So I know that this guest, has already received that message. If you see a red X here, that means the message failed. And next to that, you'll see the fail info or why it failed. So you can go and fix it. In this case, for Wendy, she didn't have a phone number in here. So if I go back to my pipeline, find Wendy, click that red edit button, and go to my client information tab. Sure enough, there's no phone number in here. Of course, you didn't get my text messages. So I can go ahead and enter that phone number in there, save it, come back here, click on that red X to refire it. She still doesn't have a phone number, so she's still not going to get that. Same thing. Yep. This one was missing a guidebook link because I haven't finished adding it in there. So I can just go back in there and add the guidebook link or remove that link and send that message again. And then this one is saying that this failed to send to this phone number because it wasn't right because I didn't enter it in correctly when I was manually entering it. So that's as expected. But what's typically expected is that most of your page, hopefully, is going to be all green check marks. Sometimes it's just operator error of maybe not entering the email incorrectly or forgetting altogether to put a phone number in there. If you do come in here and you see this fail info and you're not sure what to do with it, what to make of it, just go ahead and click on that chat box at the bottom and send a message to the support team here. Just let them know what was the guest name, what was the trigger name, the message name, and what was the reason that it failed, and just copy and paste that into here, and they can help you get that sorted. All right. Now, custom templates, I just wanted to come back and show you a few more interesting uses or useful uses of templates and triggers in here. One really common one is an auto response to an inquiry. So this is just, Airbnb especially loves it when you respond to guests very quickly. So this is an auto response, and we tell them, hey, this is an auto response to let you know we got your message. We're going to personally reply to you as soon as possible. So you can set up a message here, and then we'll create a trigger for it. And I think I don't have one, but this is, I'll build one anyways. Again, I like to make my trigger name match my template name. This is going to be a different event. This is going to be when there's a booking inquiry. Here we need to choose the channel. So I'm going to choose one, Hostfully, because I'm going to send an email to the guest, and that's going to be my auto response to an inquiry there. And then I'm going to add that same trigger, but I'm going to say this one is to the channels. And again, that's going to be a booking inquiry. I'm going to choose the channel, and that's going to be for Airbnb and Vrbo. Note that Booking.com is not here. Booking.com inquiries do not pull into Hostfully. So if you are a Booking.com customer, make sure you have your notifications turned on in Booking.com for when you do get inquiries in there. So it'll send to your email or however they send it to you. So that you don't miss those Booking.com inquiries. But here, I'm going to send a channel message with the auto response to an inquiry. Another template that has come up a few times for some of my clients who get a lot of government employees or maybe corporate employees staying at their properties, is that they need to get a receipt because they have to submit that for reimbursement. So I have an example template I use called guest receipt, just to make it simple. And I actually don't set up a trigger for this because I'm only really going to send this one out when a guest requests it. So I can still set up templates in here without triggers. And then I'm going to go to the inbox. And I'm going to, this is also how you're going to test your custom templates, or all of your templates. You can test this way. And I strongly recommend testing your templates before you make them go live. But in this case, with that guest receipt, it's going to show all the different line items and that total amount. Then this is something that they can submit for their stay as well. I think we might have some different, might show a little bit differently. This one's a little bit shorter and simpler, but oh yeah, this one has a whole bunch of different fees added onto this property. So we can see all of those itemized listed here in that receipt for your guests. So again, come in here, any of your test reservations that you build for yourself, click on the template, send it to yourself so you see it in your email, and click on all the links to make sure that they work. And actually, this reminds me, in that booking confirmation example message that you have, here we're using the number formatting right here. Airbnb does not take this number formatting. So I recommend, oops, not that. Let me cancel that really quick. I recommend taking off that formatting in any of your messages, and then just writing in, maybe just putting that one in there instead, and then creating it that way, maybe adding a space between them and then making that number 2, 3, etc. Same thing with bullet points. Airbnb doesn't take any of that kind of formatting in the inbox there. So you might need to adjust that a little bit as well. Just a little tip there. We're getting close to time, and I want to have a few minutes at least for some questions and answers. So I'll just note that when it comes to creating jobs in Hostfully, if you're using the service provider portal for your cleaners, your greeters, your maintenance people, any of the above. We are actually having a webinar coming up on the service providers that will go through how to create jobs and send notifications to your cleaners. But basically, when a job is created, it will automatically send out a message, something like this, that will go to your guests. And that link in there also has a help article that has ready to use template examples. So this article will give you some different types of messaging maybe you can send to your cleaners as a notification or reminders. So check out that article if you are using the service provider portal for your cleaners in here. But one thing I did want to just walk you through how to set up a template from scratch. So I'm going to do an SMS template. If you don't have SMS or WhatsApp abilities, you can certainly do this as an email as well. But I like to set one up called a trash day notification. So I'm just going to say like, oops, I actually need a variable here. I'm just going to say hi guest first name. Yes. Tomorrow is trash day at our property. Please let me know if you have any questions. And then I might just put like my agency name in here, whatever you want to put in your closing salutation. Notice I left this blank. I need a custom data field because different properties, they have different instructions because the trash bins are in different places. So I'm going to come to this custom data field and I'm going to create a field called trash day info. Now under field type, I have text, which is about 240 characters, or long text, which I think is more than a gig, which you would hopefully never need. So I'm going to add this as a long text in case some properties need some extra verbiage in there. So I'm going to go back to my trash day template and I'm going to pull that new custom data field that I just created called trash day info. I don't know why I pulled it in there. Let me try that again. And then delete that. Well, I'll save that for now. And then I'm going to go on to each property on the main settings under manage custom data. And I'm going to put in like, please pull out the blue bins from behind the garage, put them to the curb before you go to sleep tonight, and then put them back behind the garage after the garbage has come and picked them up. Whatever your instructions are for the property level. But I'm going to build a trigger. This one's a little different than most of our other ones. So I like to create a different trigger. I just say trash day and I put the day of the week here. This is going to be a complex event because it's time-based. In this point, I'm going to put property is, and I'm going to choose all my properties that have a Monday trash day. Oh, it's not going to let me save it. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to choose day of the week is. This is an important one to note. You're going to choose the day before the trash day because for one, our message says tomorrow is our trash day, but we also want to give the guests time to pull that trash out before. So if a guest is saying Sunday night, we're going to ask them to pull the trash bins out for our Monday trash day. So I'm going to send, in this case, an SMS to my guest. And I'm going to pull in that trash day notification trigger there. All right. We do have some additional examples. Again, this one has some really creative use cases too of different examples that you can take a look at. And your onboarding rep can also help with those. But that is pretty much it for today. But I would like to leave some time for some Q&A. So Sarah and Rihanna, do we have any questions that haven't been answered?
We pretty much answered them all, but somebody did ask how they test and see their messages. Can you show them that real quickly?
Yeah, so again, that's from the inbox. So you go to the inbox here and find one of your test reservations. If you haven't created a test reservation yet, from your dashboard or pipeline or calendar, you can click on that add lead. I like to just mark it as booked, choose your property, dates, And then here you'll enter like your name. I like to always put the word test in the last name, because before I go live, I want to come in here and delete all my test reservations. So this way I can search by that. So I'm going to, dates are blocked by another reservation. Okay, let me move my dates out a little bit to where I might not be blocked. So we'll go with that. You can put this out for a year, so that way you definitely know you won't be blocking your dates. But now I have this new reservation here. I can go back to the inbox, and then I can search by test. I have a bunch of tests in here. So I can find my guest there, click on this box right here, which is a template box, and then click on your templates. See my logo? Sorry, it's kind of awkward. I don't know why I put that there, but there it is. It looks really huge too. So one thing I like to note here is that this is a preview. I don't always trust this preview. I want to definitely send these messages to my email so I can see what it'll actually look like in my email. Now, if your logo looks this huge in your email inbox, please let the support team know because there might be an issue there. And then I can also see the formatting here looks a little funky. I'm not sure what happened in there, but this is one thing that I would definitely go back into my templates and triggers and edit that to make it look better as well. Thank you. Any other questions?
I think there's a question from Nisha that asks if there is a way to customize the background color of the template.
That's a good question. There is a way. Let's see, which one has it for sure? The capture review, I know that one has that. Oh, the custom templates. Did you say custom or system template? Sorry.
Custom.
Oh, okay.
Or just any template, I think.
For that. Well, some people don't like how these have like the Hostfully colors in them. You can just delete all that section and remove those colors. Now, if you know CSS coding, you can click on the coding tab. I might be really zoomed in too far. I can't seem to get out of here. Okay, there we go. All right, so you can, this right here is the code view. So if you click on that code view and you know CSS coding, you can come in here and change the colors of those or put your own colors in. I don't know CSS coding, but if you know someone that does, they might be able to help you with that. So the same thing like in your custom templates, you have that here too. So you can check the coding there and change the colors. I think I saw like here, we have a background color. So if you know the background color digital number, you can enter that there and that will change that background color for you in there. Not super user friendly if you aren't familiar with that kind of stuff, but yeah, that's one way you can do that. Any other questions that are helpful with the display?
I think we're hitting time.
All right. Yep, we're right about at time. So just some other ways of, you see my slide here? Making sure it works. So we can build out FAQs. This is a common one for people to do as well, is to have like one sheet of FAQs, and then you can go to your inbox and just copy and paste the specific question that somebody might be asking, so you don't have to write that out over and over again. You might have a separate message or use that your stay is approaching message for upselling goods and services. Sending cleaners answers from the pre-arrival form we talked about. If you're not using a smart lock integration partner and you're manually putting the lock codes into your lock app and into Hostfully, you can send yourself a reminder to make sure you get those added before the check-in instructions go out. And then maybe a reminder to refund the security deposit if you are doing security deposits through Hostfully. So those are just some extra ideas there. We also, if you haven't been there yet, hostfully.uservoice.com is a place where you can have your voice heard. So please go there, share your ideas and requests, or vote on existing ideas that already exist. There's a lot of ideas already out there for templates and triggers. So I encourage you to go there and check that out. And because of the many people who have requested and voted for new functionality on templates and triggers, we have the following new features coming out really soon, which is the ability to sort templates and triggers, edit fonts in the custom templates, and getting a notification of failed triggers so you don't have to go to that message log 10 times a day. So keep voting and sharing your ideas at hostfully.uservoice.com. There's also a link to that in my templates and triggers resource links there. Get more help from joining our onboarding office hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, open hour. Feel free to jump into those. Just listen to other people's questions if you like. We love having people in there. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us today to talk about templates and triggers. Please remember to click on that links tab before I close this out to download the resources that are in there for templates and triggers, and to get registered for any of our Integrations Palooza events. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining me. I had a great time. Hope you learned something new and appreciate your participation. Bye, everybody.